It's time for the biggest sports stories.
It's Neymar trying to feed it through. It's a stretch and it's in. And I can't remember the last time I saw something like this. Extraordinary scenes.
The biggest interviews.
It's more difficult. Obviously, it's more difficult.
And all the analysis right here.
If they play poorly, they come back, they've got all the excuses. You can't have it both ways.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It certainly is the biggest show in the world of sport on Zimbabwe radio. It's Mark Ponzo, Alois Bunjira, Barry Manandi, and yours truly, Mike Madoda. Sean Tafiranyika behind the desk, the man who's tasked with preparing this and every show. And this time he's come up with an absolute cracker. We take a look back at the weekend that was in the world of sport. We're just a couple of weeks out from the start, or should I say from kickoff, in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League season 2018. And we are the small matter of the Charities Shield final. That, of course, brought to you by the Zimbabwe National Army. 2 derbies played this past weekend. We'll take a look at those matches and other matches where, sadly, in the world of cricket, it's not good news for Zimbabwe. Let's get into the headlines.
In the headlines, on the home front, that cricket news is that trailing 3-1, the Zimbabwe Chevrons are out to save face in the 5-match one-day international series against Afghanistan. We will keep you updated on the score in the final one-day international in Sharjah. Mark Pozzo will give us exactly how it's looking out there for the Zimbabwe Chevrons. In triathlon news, Germany's Johannes Breinlinger completed a fairy tale maiden visit to Zimbabwe by winning the 2018 edition of the Bonacqua Troutbeck ATU Sprint Triathlon African Cup at the Troutbeck Resort on Saturday. And as Mike said, in football news, Highlanders' youthful squad set up a ZNA Charities Shield final against arch rivals Dynamos after coming from behind to beat Chicken Inn 2-1 this morning at Luveva Stadium. The game had to be completed today after it was abandoned due to heavy rain yesterday.
Our international sports news roundup starts with rugby, where Super Rugby returned with 2 games in the South African Conference on Saturday as the Stormers and Lions overcame Los Jaguares and the Sharks respectively. To the NBA, where LeBron James scored 29 points and was selected MVP of the NBA All-Star Game for the 3rd time on Sunday after he led Team LeBron to a win over Team Steven at Staples Center. And in tennis, Roger Federer celebrated the regaining of his world number 1 ranking by winning the Rotterdam Open yesterday.
In the beautiful game, the FA Cup is front and centre. Tottenham manager Mauricio Pochettino admitted his side suffered a difficult day after they were held to a 2-2 draw by Rochdale in the FA Cup 5th round yesterday. In La Liga, Real Madrid coach Zinedine Zidane hailed his side's character after they came from behind to win a crazy game in last night's 5-3 victory at Real Betis. And news out of Germany's Bundesliga, Marco Reus maintained Borussia Dortmund's distant pursuit of leaders Bayern Munich by firing them to victory at Borussia Mönchengladbach with his first goal since May.
The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
Things usually get emotional on the home front insofar as football is concerned, and the big teams in the nation were in action this past weekend. Highlanders, Caps United, Dynamos, as well as Chicken Inn. And no doubt you'll have an opinion, no doubt you'll have something to say about what happened over yesterday and early this morning. And the number to use, 0731 168 045. That's for our WhatsApp platform. The number again, 0731 168 045. We're also on Twitter and Facebook at ZiFM Sport. And it's to Bulawayo where we go, where Highlanders' youthful squad set up a ZNA Charity Shield final against arch rivals Dynamos after coming from behind to beat Chicken Inn 2-1 this morning at Luveva Stadium. The game had to be completed today after it was abandoned yesterday due to heavy rain, which overwhelmed the poor drainage system at Barber Fields. Chicken Inn were leading 1-0 through Clemens Matau's 5th-minute goal before persistent heavy rain and thunderstorms forced referee Pilani Ngube to stop stopped the match 10 minutes into the second half. When the match resumed this morning, Adrian Sila pulled Boselevo in the 72nd minute before Peter Mudua scored the winner in the 88th minute. Now, we caught up with Highlanders Vice Chairperson Morden Ngwenya and asked him about Madina Ndlovu's performance as the new head coach and Boso's targets for this coming season.
Very happy because the reason why we employed Madina so that we could go to our old ways, our culture as Highlanders of recruiting our own personnel, our own youngsters, you see, elevating them from the junior development side to the first team. And obviously, we can't say much about where we will become end of the season, but all I can say is it's a system that is being re-energized. It's a system that is being reformed. It's a system that's we are back to school actually, you know, where they are learning the philosophy of Martin Ndlovu, and with time I know the team will gel. Obviously, you see, the new technical team headed by Martin Ndlovu is blending youth with experience, and we are happy so far with what we're seeing on the field of play, and there's evidence to it. We were trailing 1-0, and then today our predominantly young team did wonders in 35 minutes. It was 35 minutes of scintillating, fascinating, and exciting football. You see, had the match continued, I think we would have gotten an avalanche of goals. Unfortunately, stopped in the 90th minute. We didn't set any targets for our coach this year. All we're saying is we should build a team that will compete in the coming season. So this year, his mandate is to make sure that we've got a formidable outfit that will compete. But obviously, we are not saying that we do not want the league. There is no a team that does not want the league championship. But all we are saying is we are not going to put them under pressure by saying that we have this target. This year's target is the league. If the league comes, obviously it will be a bonus.
Highlanders Vice Chairman there, Morden Ngwenya, quietly confident, some would even say bullish, ahead of season 2018 in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. Highlanders getting the better of Chicken Inn earlier today with a 2-1 victory, coming from behind in a match that was played over 2 days and also played at 2 venues. Kicked off yesterday at Barberfield Stadium. Unfortunately, the rain got in the way, had to be completed at Luveve at 10 a.m. this morning, and Highlanders getting into the final, Alois Munjira. And you've got to say that perhaps a turning point in this game was the red card given to Divine Lunga. It made it easier for the Highlanders youngsters playing against the Chicken Inn team that was one man short.
Yeah, you can say that, but I still believe that the youngsters from Highlanders were gallant. You know, they didn't put their heads down, and they came today to play those last 35 minutes, you know, with confidence, and they wanted it, and they did the job. I'm just happy for Madinda and Highlanders, you know, because I am in full support of what they are doing in Blawayo, because we had destroyed football, you know, by abandoning junior development structures, and Islanders are putting that back in order. And this win for me is actually a positive. It's a nod to say that you are in the right direction, guys. Let's keep doing it.
Just taking a look at the two results that we got this past weekend, Dynamo's edging out Caps United 1-0 in a team that also fielded a number of youngsters as well. This must be at least, should I say, the thumbs up for juniors in our top flight.
It certainly is, and I think what we're going to see is that more coaches are going to adapt that philosophy because it works.
Are they brave enough, Barry?
Do you know what?
Not many.
It's become a zero-sum game whereby if you don't win the championship in your first or your second season, you're out the door. But I think teams are going to warm up to the task, warm up to the philosophy of having junior strikers. Firstly, secondly, promoting players through the junior structures, because it's not getting any cheaper to run football clubs. And so I think even the company-based teams, we're seeing Highlanders started now.
I love the
well-funded,
theory, Barry. I love the theory, but I don't think Ngezi Platinum is going to stop from buying players. I don't think FC Platinum are going to stop from buying players.
Here's the thing, though. I don't believe that they will stop necessarily. But if that buying doesn't deliver success, and let's say a Highlanders or a Dynamos wins the championship and are swapping positions, winning the championship with young players coming out of the junior structures, surely they're going to realize and the writing will be on the wall.
That is the logic. That is the logic.
And the other thing, Mike, is we are making it easy. For these clubs that want to adopt junior development structures, we are making it easier. Let's say Highlanders with these youngsters, they've put them on the platform. They will do well this season, but you will find that they've given them 1-year contracts. What does FC Platinum do next year? They come and poach the best out of them. So if we want to change the landscape of Zimbabwean football, bring in the juniors, give them 5-year contracts. 6-year contracts, keep them, because it's a project. You said you want a long-term project, so why don't you give the youngsters 5-year contracts? Stay there. Now when they are established, those teams, they're not buying players in Ngezi and them, they are taking all the players that are free agents. Who has really been bought? I don't really know who has been bought. They're taking these players from those that are free. They just say, okay, we'll take you next year when you are free.
Okay, we want to hear from you. Fascinating discussion we're having with Alois Bunjira here in the studio. And of course, we took a look back at the results that came through this past weekend of those two semi-final matches. But no doubt, the focus is on junior development in Zimbabwe, grassroots development, giving opportunities to youngsters, as we are seeing at Highlanders, as we saw with Dynamos in their semi-final versus Caps United. Is this the future of local football here in Zimbabwe, especially with not a lot of finance or not a lot of corporates right now willing to invest in our top flight? Is this the solution to get some of the more traditional teams competitive in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League? Hit us up on WhatsApp 0731 168 045.
From Rufaro to Barberfield, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Well, Mike alluded to it, and it is absolutely true. There was other action in Harare at the National Sports Stadium as Caps United was taking on Dynamos, and it was Dynamos that provided a convincing case of their credentials this season as they beat Caps United 1-0 in their other semi-final of the ZNA Charities Shield. Exciting midfielder Kudzanai Demere decided the contest with a solitary goal in the 58th minute. Now, after the game, we caught up with Dynamo's coach Lloyd Mutasa and Caps United coach Lloyd Chitembwe.
Yeah, I think as a team we always want to play to win, and this is the beginning of probably good things to come. Yeah, I think it's still too early to say, but who wouldn't want to start on a better footing? I think it's a better show from the youngsters, and if you look at us, we had a number of players who were out of it as well, and I'm sure if they come back, the guys who were out will be able to be a formidable side, I guess.
I'm sure, in as far as I'm concerned, I think we are ahead of schedule. Usually, it takes a team 6 weeks to be ready, and considering what I saw today, I'm sure, we're doing well, and we just need to improve on certain important aspects of the game. Our transitions, especially from defending to attacking, was not best, and also vice versa. But the second half, I'm sure there was much better improvement in the second half, and basing on that, I'm sure with a little bit of more time working on key areas of our game, I'm sure, we stand a very good chance to be a very, very formidable team this season, and I can guarantee you, we have what it takes to be competitive this season.
The dulcet tones of Caps United gaffer there, Lloyd Chitembwe, talking about his fortunes and the fortunes of his team in this game against Dynamos, where unfortunately they didn't make it to the final. Now, we talked about the youngsters of Dynamos, and Caps United, thankfully, are diametrically opposite to Dynamos in the sense that they've got a very, let's say, experienced side, don't they?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm a Caps United fan, but then I am a big fan of the other philosophy.
Right.
So it puts me on between a hard place and a rock. Uh-huh. But I saw it happening, and I saw the youngsters, give them more time, they will develop into better players. We saw it happening, but then on the side of Caps United as well, I thought they were not sharp. they were not as sharp, especially in front of goal. They were not sharp at all. They created a few chances, yes, but the
missed Dominic Chungwa.
Finishing was not up to stage. If Dominic Chungwa was there, they could have won that match. But like Lloyd said, probably they are still working on the fitness levels of the players. So we'll see. Sometimes you don't really measure the strength of a team by the first game of the season. We'll see as the season goes on.
Barry, I want to ask you this. Does it concern you that one of the most outstanding players on the field of play was Method Mwanjali, a man well in his prime, in his twilight, that he can come back to our local league and perform at that level? And you can tell that with Method, that all he needs is just games under his belt. He just gets leaner and trimmer, because you can tell he's still got a couple of pounds. He looks like a couple of pounds overweight. But once he gets lean and trim, this guy is probably going to be one of the most outstanding defenders in the league.
No, definitely. I think we were sitting with a few people around us who felt that, listen, might as well put him on the calendar already, whereby he could be part of the finalists, the 11 finalists for the Soccer Star of the Year award. But it's one game, and he performed admirably. If he loses weight and is able to get his fitness back, my goodness, we could have some player on our hands here in Method Mwanjali.
Hi Zimbabwe, I'm Adlive Zurek, Cape United captain and the Warriors defender. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
We move on to the rest of our local sports news roundup. We'll start with cricket, and trailing 3-1, the Zimbabwe Chevrons are out to save face in the 5-match one-day international series against Afghanistan. Well, I can tell you they got a lot of dirt on their faces, because at this stage they're in all kinds of trouble. Afghanistan batting first on what was an exceptionally good batting track. 241 for 9 in their 50 overs. It should have been a whole heap less. Zimbabwe did bowl well up at the top of the order, but right at the end, a man by the name of Rashid Khan smashed 43 off 29 deliveries to take them past 240. Zimbabwe currently 95 for the loss of 6 wickets. Well behind the run rate, and it looks like Zimbabwe are heading for a big defeat in Sharjah, losing the series 4-1. It looks like at this stage ahead of the big ICC World Cup qualifying tournament. To triathlon, and Germany's Jonas Breitlinger completed a fairy tale maiden visit to Zimbabwe by winning the 2018 edition of the Bon Aqua Troutbeck ITU Sprint Triathlon Africa Cup at the Troutbeck Resort on Saturday. The 23-year-old, who was making his first trip to Zimbabwe, battled the incessant rain to complete the 750-meter swim, 20-kilometer cycle and 5-kilometer run ahead of the strong men's elite field of 15 triathletes. Zimbabwe will have to wait at least another year before they can have a winner in the men's elite race, after the duo of debutant Gideon Bernardi and veteran Rory Mackey came 12th and 14th respectively. To golf, and South African Jaco Alhers pulled away after the turn to accelerate to a comfortable 3-stroke victory in the Dimension Data Pro-Am, which finished at Fan Court yesterday. Scott Vincent finished as the highest placed Zimbabwean, tied on 38th. The other Zimbabwean golfers, Ryan Cairns, Mark Kayu, Ben Follett-Smith and Mohamed Raif, all failed to make the cut.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Rugby, and Super Rugby returned with 2 games in the South African Conference on Saturday. Lions captain Warren Whiteley was not overly happy with his side's performance in their 26-19 win over the Sharks on Saturday. The Lions were far from their best, but still managed to secure the win despite having struggled at line-out time, while they also made errors at crucial stages. Whiteley, playing his first Super Rugby match since the groin injury he picked up in June last year, said after the match that there was a lot of room for improvement. Elsewhere, the Stormers opened their Super Rugby season with a 28-20 victory, but were made to work for it after a determined late comeback from Argentina's Jaguares at Newlands. Let's hear from Lions winger Apiwa Danchki, who was named as the man of the match.
Yeah, I think we couldn't have asked for a better start. Obviously, in terms of the game, we didn't execute all of our opportunities, but I think we did well for the first game. I can't believe I'm standing here right now, but truly great moments. I've got a lot of people to thank. My teammates first and foremost. We had to grind for the win. The coaches, they really backed me, and I got a lot of support from my family as well. So I've got to thank them. They came out tonight. So yeah, thank you very much.
Well, to quote Dianti there, I mean, he says they ground out the result, and that's a mark of champions, isn't it? It's a mark of a team that's going to go further in this competition, albeit that they weren't at their best.
Yeah, well, South African champions.
South African champions, yeah.
Not the mark of champions, because I think that whilst they're a decent side, I don't think they're good enough to win. I'll just be tempted once again to look to the New Zealand franchises.
Yeah.
I think they'll be stronger, they'll be more exciting, they'll be more powerful. But in South Africa, the Lions certainly are right up there, and they had to show a bit of character against the Sharks side. I remember we had a discussion on Friday, and we pointed out that this Sharks side would not be easy to beat, and they had a good start. Robert Dupre scoring early, and the Lions had to make a fight for it. So interesting match, but just the start that the Lions needed, isn't it, Poss?
Yeah, very much so. And I think, new coach, new surroundings a little bit. But, I think it was a good performance from them. They ground out the win that they needed to win. I always say in these games, you've got to win your home games. And they did just that. So, let's hope it's going to be a good Super Rugby tournament. These are your fixtures coming up this weekend. The Highlanders will face the Blues. The Rebels will face the Reds. The Sunwolves entertain the Brumbies. The Crusaders up against the Chiefs. The Waratahs are at home to the Stormers. The Lions will face the Jaguars. And the Blue Bulls will open their campaign against the Hurricanes.
Hello, my name is Ibn Etzwith. I play for the Stormers and the Springboks. You're listening to ZiFM.
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in New Zealand, where an aggressive Colin Munro belted New Zealand into the 2020 Tri-Series final against Australia, despite England claiming their final round-robin match by 2 runs in Hamilton yesterday. England posted 194 for 7 after being sent in to bat. New Zealand made 192 for 4 in reply. The narrow 2-run winning margin was a bittersweet result for Owen Morgan, who scored an unbeaten 80. In South Africa, Bhuvneshwar Kumar claimed his first 5-wicket haul in India's 28-run victory over the Proteas at the Wanderers Stadium. South Africa now trail 1-0 in the 3-match T20 International Series. Across to the United States of America, where Bubba Watson survived a huge test of attrition on the final day at Riviera to end his 2-year wait for his 10th PGA Tour title with a 2-shot win at the Genesis Open in Los Angeles, California. Watson responded to an erratic front nine with a flawless performance over the final 9 holes. Staying in LA, LeBron James scored 29 points and was selected MVP of the NBA All-Star Game for the 3rd time on Sunday after he led Team LeBron to a win over Team Steph at the Staples Center. LBJ hit the go-ahead layup with 34.5 seconds to play as his team rallied to win an uncommonly entertaining showcase. And we touched down in the Netherlands, Holland, as some would prefer to call it, where Roger Federer celebrated the regaining of his world #1 ranking by winning the Rotterdam Open yesterday. Federer glided past Grigor Dimitrov 6-2, 6-2 in the final, 2 days after becoming the oldest player to top the ATP rankings at the age of 36.
Give me milk.
To all you Twitter heads, connect with ZiFM Stereo on twitter.com/ZiFM Stereo. /ZiFM Stereo.
Fan Zone. Get in touch with the team and have your say your way.
Operator.
If any of you guys out there know where Barry Menandez stays, please report to us. Let us know. Have you seen a Spanish damsel anywhere near? A dark-haired,
arrived yesterday, my friend. She brought me all this music, so I had to play it.
Because 2 Latino songs.
Tracks, one day.
One day.
Done, mate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if it's not at his hood, then maybe find out, has he been limping over to the Spanish embassy? Well, but anyway, cricket
Conchita,
fans.
I'm coming home.
Cricket fans, the result is out. Zimbabwe bowled out for 95 versus Afghanistan. 95 all out. Zimbabwe after 32.1 overs. Afghanistan, of course, 241 for 9, meaning that Afghanistan have won by a massive 146 runs. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, pause.
Yeah. Not good.
All done. All the shouting. All right, so if you want to let us know what your thoughts are, 0731 168 045. That's 0731 168 045. Theo in Tinwald says that he's very angry. He says the chevrons something fishy is happening in the UAE. He says the Anti-Corruption Commission must investigate. So he reckons that these boys are throwing games.
But is it anything surprising though, Alois? Are we seeing anything different from the Chevrons? Isn't it the same up and down story of the last 10 years where they flatter to deceive, they get a good result, the next result is a bad one, and they give us hope, and then they take away the hope with the very next game?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these kind of theories. Whenever we lose, then you start saying people are selling games. They've been doing this for a long time. We talked about it. Remember those are
they're well experienced in losing.
About zero boys and all that. They've been doing this for a long time. They play so well against Ireland and play terribly against Bangladesh or Afghanistan. We have seen this happening.
Beat Sri Lanka and then lose to Afghanistan.
Exactly. So, yeah, they are just not consistent, and the professionalism, I'm not so sure what exactly is the solution. Yeah.
All right, let's go to football now. Timothy from Budiriro, one good evening to you. He says, Caps, irikuunganidza vanhu vakura vasingaburitse something. And Caps seems to be taking a hiding because this message says Caps United team for this season is a joke. The old guys at the team need to be offloaded, to say the truth. The team will fight relegation from day one. The whole team cannot play 90 minutes. Urgent action should be taken before Caps play its trademark in Division 1. That's my name is forward at Eagle Staff College in Vumba.
Let's
it's a bit harsh.
Let's be a bit. It's not even a bit harsh. Let's be
they
realistic.
Can actually fight for the championship.
Yeah,
they can be in the mix. Top 5 they can be there, but let's be honest. You need to at least blend a few youngsters here and there, also, because they will carry you at some point when you really need them.
I also need fans to understand that football is never won in pre-season.
No,
because you don't know what the focus of the coach is. So you can't write off a team on the basis of one result. And you go back to Europe. What happened in August? You had Real Madrid thumping Barcelona convincingly. I think it was 5-1 in the their pre-season. They beat them 5-1 over 2 legs, eh? Yeah. And what did everyone do? They wrote off Barcelona. Said, no, these guys are finished. These guys are done. These guys are done. What's the situation now? So for me, you can only judge Caps United when the season starts after 5 to 10 games. Then you begin to see which direction the team is going.
And besides, a coach is also smart enough to know how to use his older players. He needs to come up with a plan that helps the older players to actually last for the 90 minutes.
All right, you don't give us your name, but you say this is the best result, and the final will obviously attract a big crowd given the rivalry of the teams. Let the rivalry continue, you go on to say. This one says, I'm Aldridge out of MSU. I'm happy to see that my Boso is giving young players a chance. So the young players are certainly getting a kudos.
Mehluli Smanda, good evening, and thank you so much for getting in touch. And you say most of our stadiums have poor drainage facilities. Complaining about that. Is this something that is in need of urgent attention to you, Alois, or this was an anomaly? Because this, I think, is probably the first abandonment due to weather in years.
Yeah, I think we can look back and say that we have had this problem of poor drainage. That's why Takambo tried with the season from August to May. It didn't work because of the waterlogged pitches. So I heard about trying to go back there. It's not going to work because we know this problem. It exists, but our summer is actually more predominantly when we are in the off season. This is actually a pre-season match. Remember. So I think by March, end of March, the rains would have been gone.
Okay. Regards cricket. Ndumi has also got in touch on Twitter. He says our guys are tired. We need to understand that. What's worse is we don't have a robust enough feeder system to get top-level talent into the side that's able to compete at that level. I mentioned in a post that there's need for some introspection and tough decisions to be made.
Yeah, some tough decisions to be made. And Paul Kariba has a suggestion. He says, Operation Restore Legacy needed in order for us to sleep well concerning the Chevrons. This one says everything is psychological now with the Chevrons. Once they're in a bad position, they believe it's all deja vu, and of course it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It kicks in. They need to shrink. They need a shrink, maybe. That's Buxi, Sunning Hill in Skies.
And Koselatim Tede on Twitter says something has to give. This is too much. We love our team, but we are always getting heartbroken.
Hi everyone. This is Winnie Kumalo, and here is my message to you in Harare.
ZiFM Stereo in partnership with The Venue.
bring you the Z Acoustic Cafe Winnie Khumalo concert on Friday, the 23rd of February from 6 p.m. Discover all that is new and exciting at the venue over pre-concert cocktails with jazz band Afri-Cherry. Meet the stars and then stay for the concert from 7:30 p.m. with South Africa's Winnie Khumalo featuring Brian K and Reverb 7. RSVP Tara Travis via email tara@thevenue.co.zw or call 0783 725 171. Winnie Khumalo at the venue this Friday and broadcast live on ZiFM Stereo. #Zevolution.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a castle.
Here we go again.
Enjoy world-class radio online. ZiFM Stereo is available on TuneIn. Search for ZiFM Stereo and you got it.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport.
We start the beautiful game with the best cup competition in the world, the FA Cup, and Tottenham manager Mauricio Pochettino admitted his side suffered a difficult day after they were held to a 2-2 draw by Rochdale in the FA Cup 5th round yesterday. Steve Davies lashed home an injury time equaliser for the League One side at Scotland to enforce a replay at Wembley for a place in the last 8 of the competition. Spurs had earlier rallied back from a goal down and looked to be heading through when Harry Kane drilled home a penalty on 88 minutes after Dele Alli was fouled in the box. Let's hear from Pochettino, who apologised for criticising the state of Scotland pitch before it was relayed earlier in the week and said he had no complaints with the surface.
I think everyone can see the performance and the game, and then the draw. I think it's a fair result. Maybe we play a little bit more, but we cannot say nothing. If we are not capable to win today here, it's because they deserve to go to play on Wembley. For us, it's another game to play, and yes, good chance for the squad to have another opportunity to play and try to show the quality. But of course, we are alive, and like was a Newport, difficult game.
Tottenham been taken to a replay. Back-to-back rounds in the FA Cup for the first time since the 2009-2010 season, and have done so against sides from lower divisions than themselves for the first time since the 95-96 campaign when Hereford and Wolves took them to consecutive replays. My question here, though, is this a game that Tottenham really want to be playing at replay? They needed to have done the business. They have got some serious games coming up in the run into the Premier League.
Yeah,
let alone the Champions League.
They've got massive games, and it's a replay that they didn't need. Congratulations and kudos to Rochdale. But I think Poch is being very kind to his team. I think that they should have sealed the victory long before even the Harry Kane penalty. So I think they've done themselves a bit of a disservice, and this might see them with a bit of a split focus, wherein they need to be focused on one goal and one goal alone, and that's to get a good run in the Premier League.
Yeah, when you look at it, the EPL, they've been complaining about too many games. You know, they don't rest during the Christmas time, and you don't want one more game, unnecessary one more game. And they played as a small team, but now they have to go and play a replay, and they have to focus on that replay because they want the FA Cup as well. So it's a game that is going to sap their energy and sway their focus a bit. And it was unfortunate. I watched the game and I thought that they were not up to scratch, and they didn't apply themselves very well to actually dismiss that Rochdale team.
Oh yeah, you know what I love about this is the fact that you've got a Rochdale side that's earned themselves now a replay, and for me it's the financial implications for the smaller team.
Celebrate.
Yeah, the fact that they're going to earn themselves a lot of money. So a lot of people don't understand. That's what I love about the FA Cup, because it's not just about the glory of beating a bigger team. Sometimes it's just about even getting so much as a replay where you're able to go to Wembley Stadium, and just because you won that replay, even if you go and lose it 7-0, it doesn't matter for them. They're going to walk away with at least $2 or $3 million from that encounter.
And this is a bottom League One side. This is a basement side. So
it makes a world of difference for a team such as Rochdale. So for me, that's the beauty of the FA Cup.
Indeed, right. Looking back at the other results from the weekend, Leicester City beat Sheffield United 1-0. Chelsea putting 4 past Hull City. Sheffield Wednesday and Swansea will have to replay. West Bromwich Albion going down to Southampton by 2-1. Alan Pardew in all kinds of trouble. Brighton and Hove Albion are through to the last 8 with a 3-1 victory over Coventry City.
This round of the FA Cup will be completed tonight with Wigan entertaining Manchester City, and Pep Guardiola expects Wigan to race out of the blocks when they face his Manchester City side in the FA Cup tonight. Runaway Premier League leaders City travel to the DW Stadium in a repeat of the 2013 final, which was famously won by the League One side. The Latics also stunned City in the 2014 finals, and even though they have since slipped to England's third tier, Guardiola is braced for a tough challenge in their 5th round tie. But you got to think to yourself, no matter what side runs out for Manchester City, I think this could be curtains for Wigan. I think Manchester City marches on, eh?
Yeah, it's a good Man City side, and what I like about them is that the squad depth has meant that they don't miss players as much as other teams in the Premier League. You've had Sané injured. Who did they throw? They threw Bernardo Silva to play in that position. Bernardo Silva, one of the standout players in the Champions League last season, and he's actually a fringe player at Man City. So they've got the squad depth to deal with any absences. They've also got, I think, a nice balance between skillful players, young players, experienced players, players who can see them through such a tough game as this one. Because it's going to be tough. I think for the first 10-15 minutes, Wigan is going to come at them. But it should settle after that.
Yeah, I do agree with you 100%. I think they will come with guns blazing in the first few minutes, the exuberance and the appetite. But once Manchester City controls the situation and stay comfortable, I'm actually looking at a situation whereby they are going to be hammered quite massive.
Quite massively. And of course, this is the 5th meeting between the two sides in the FA Cup, with Wigan winning each of the last 2, including an FA Cup final victory thanks to Ben Watson's goal in 2013. Let's go to Spain's La Liga. Real Madrid coach Zinedine Zidane hailed his side's character after they came from behind to win a crazy game in last night's 8-goal thriller 5-3 at Real Betis. Zidane told the post-game news conference that his team had worked together to make sure they turned the game around for what was just their 2nd win in their last 6 La Liga away trips. Elsewhere, Atletico Madrid kept up their chase of leaders Barcelona with a 2-0 home victory over Athletic Bilbao. Barcelona beat Eibar by the same scoreline to maintain their 7-point lead at the summit of the league. Let's take a look at the other La Liga results. Girona 3-0 victors over Leganes. Las Palmas beaten at home by Sevilla 2-1. Alaves beating Deportivo La Coruña 1-0. Malaga upended by Valencia 2-1 in a very exciting game. Real Sociedad 3-0 over Levante. Espanyol and Villarreal in a 1-0 draw. Now, Atletico Madrid for you, Alois, do they have it to keep up the chase, to be consistent, or will it ultimately come down to their visit to Barcelona? That match, will it be the one that decides? Because they lose that one, if the situation is still the same, they fall 10 points behind.
Nah, I don't think they will pose a serious threat to the championship. They will drop a few points even against other clubs in the Spanish La Liga. By the time they come against Barcelona, probably they will be further adrift, and I don't see it as that game as a turning point. I'm sure that by that time Barcelona would have just walked away with it.
A race for the Pichichi is getting more and more interesting, guys, because Lionel Messi leading the way at 20 goals. But the man who is in hot pursuit is Luis Suarez. He is bang on form, this guy. I think he has scored in each and every one of his last 10 games. He keeps on scoring and he keeps on scoring. He's on 17 goals. Iago Aspas, 15 goals. Christian Stuani has got 13. Ronaldo has got 12. Suarez, you fancy his chances?
The thing with Suarez, he's one of those strikers. Once he gets his eye in, to use a cricket term, listen, he keeps going. Like you're saying, he keeps scoring. And the irony of ironies is that many of his goals are being created by Lionel Messi.
That's what I was going to say, that he's got the advantage of the fact that the guy that he's trying to chase down, Alois, is the guy who's feeding him.
Yeah, it's quite crazy that the guy who's feeding him is actually the one who's trying to run away from him. But Lionel Messi, being the humble guy he is, he just keeps on feeding him. Maybe it's about team play. But I'm just disappointed by the La Liga scoring form this season. I think this is probably the worst La Liga season when it comes to goals. At this stage of the season, 20 goals.
You know what?
Yeah.
I want to say this. Yes, I'll agree with you that the return has been low, but I think it's also a function of the other sides coming on a bit. I think we've seen a lot more revenue within La Liga, and so it's gone right through the league, and teams like AIBA have come up in leaps and bounds. Real Betis were fantastic last night. They really came at Real Madrid. So teams like that coming on a bit is always going to cause there to be those mismatches that we used to see are a thing of the past. Any team can beat another. Mayaga can get a result against one of the big sides. So consequently, that's why I think the return is lower.
Antoine Griezmann, 8 goals. Gareth Bale, 6 goals. Simone Zaza, 10 goals. Those are the leading scorers in La Liga at the moment.
They are indeed. Let's pop over to Germany for our Bundesliga roundup. Now, Marco Reus maintained Borussia Dortmund's distant pursuit of leaders Bayern Munich by firing them to a victory at Borussia Mönchengladbach with his first goal since May. In other news, Robert Lewandowski came off the bench to score a stoppage time penalty as Bayern Munich came from behind to win 2-1 at Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga on Saturday.
And to the Serie A roundup, Napoli matched Juventus with a 1-0 win over Spal yesterday to regain top spot in Italy from the champions, who had earlier won the Turin derby by the same score. The two Serie A pace setters both bounced back from European setbacks to claim their 9th consecutive league wins.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting, that one.
Yep.
In Italy.
But guys, I know you guys are always complaining about, Serie A is boring.
No.
Guys, I watched a few games. No, they're playing football.
Yeah.
They are playing football. Yeah. I watched Juventus Torino, and yes, the result was Juventus won.
Yeah.
But it was not an easy victory.
Yeah.
Torino came at them, and it was exciting. And
it's competitive.
Yeah, it's very, very competitive. And what I like about it is that there seems to be an evolution in the way Italian teams are playing.
Yeah.
It's no longer that defensive style where you got, a rigid 4-4-2 system. They're now actually playing some. They're playing very quick, incisive football nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's got cut and thrust. Also, the continental players that have come in, and they're not many, admittedly. It's the Italian players. There's a lot more pace going forward. Transition play is good. So Italian football is coming up in leaps and bounds.
Yeah, coming up in leaps and bounds. Well, we have to take off, guys, but you can catch the show tomorrow exactly the same time, 6:05, right here on your favorite station, ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station. The news is coming up next, and of course, it's always great listening on your favorite station.
Yeah, may God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manandi, out.
Be sure to catch ZiFM Sport every weekday on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.